Hello, everybody, and welcome to an overview of the Content Marketing Chapter 9, Selecting a Social Media Platform. Now, this chapter is going to be broken into two parts. The first will go over the first half of the chapter that is all about preparing to make a social media selection, as you can see here with my slides. And then the second part is going to go channel by channel through each major social network. Now, as you've probably caught on by now, some of my videos go through slides, some of them go through the actual textbook web pages. This specific video is going to go through the slides, while the next one, which is going to go through each chapter, each platform, will be back in the courseware so you can follow along at home. But when it comes to preparing to make a selection here with your social media channel, I figured it would be best to use the slides. I think these do a good succinct job of showing and explaining how this works. Now, when I was originally tasked with writing a chapter on social media, it was going to be exactly that, one chapter on the social media aspects of content marketing. Originally, it was also considered that social media was more of a distribution channel where you would take your content. So, as we've already talked about in the past chapters, blogging, video, infographics, podcasts, and you would distribute them through your social networks. However, I quickly figured out that that is not the only situation, but social media in itself is this hybrid content creation slash distribution hub. And as such, I ended up creating two chapters that talk about that. Now, today I'm just going through the first section. Actually, I guess it's the first two sections of chapter 9. But if we want to really start off with the key points, I do want to start with one general statement that is, you don't need to have your business on every single social network. And that's something that a lot of companies, a lot of higher ups in marketing, and even a lot of entry level marketers seem to forget. They are of the mind that you need to be everywhere, because if your audience is everywhere, then you need to be everywhere. However, that is not necessarily the case. Rather, it's more efficient and probably more economical if you instead focus on just one or a select few social networks instead. Now, when the social media boom happened in the early 2010s, a lot of companies just went and created accounts everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and when Instagram came up, Instagram. And since then, you've even seen them pop up on other places. Today, I get a lot of questions from clients who ask, hey, what about TikTok? Should we be on TikTok? And my answer now is always, well, is your audience there? One. And two, do you have the internal resources, not just to maintain a page, but to use it as a major driver through like the lead funnel, as I like to tell them? Of course, for all of you here, it's the AIDA funnel, which we'll talk about in a moment. Because you got to remember that when you're making a selection on social media, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the audience, what your use case is, what their use case is, how do they use social media, and then also how do your business goals align. There's a lot of mismatching there, and a lot of times it ends up with businesses having small followings. Twitter is a very common one for this, where companies think they have to be on Twitter. Whenever there's an announcement, they got to be there. That's where the interactions are. And yet you end up with a lot of social media coordinators coming back and saying, hey, I'm spending a disproportionate amount of time on Twitter and I'm not seeing any results, but I know I have to be there. And then my response to them is, well, why do you have to be there? And really, they're not thinking about the whole picture, and they're realizing that, hey, nobody's actually seeing these tweets. And then they are left with the difficult decision of trying to determine, do I get rid of the account? Do I keep it? How do we move? And we'll talk about that throughout these two chapters as well. Now, there's 3 steps in the platform selection process. And when I say platform selection process, I don't just mean, hey, I need to pick one to focus on. We have 4 of them, but rather think of it as in I'm rebuilding my content and social media strategy, and I'm going to focus on 1 or 2. And you go through these 3 steps. One, your target audience, figure out what they are and which social networks do they use, which is what this chapter is about. 2, choosing your goals for utilizing social media in your content marketing strategy. So, for example, if your content plan is all about video, specifically YouTube, you're really big on YouTube, you're going to need to think about how is that going to translate to other social networks. We briefly touched on in the video chapter how um, social media platforms like you to upload videos natively to their channels, and they will kill your reach if you're linking to, say, YouTube. So you do need to think about what that looks like. And then finally, you want to look at the social networks and ones that best match your content marketing goals. And what I mean here is if you think about what are your goals, do you want traffic to your website where you are then going to get people to submit, their information and get them in a new email list and move them through the funnel? You want to think through those steps to figure out, based on what my goals are, which social network should I choose? And as you'll see in the second part video of this, um, those social networks can be very, like that is a very important step, because if Twitter is your weapon of choice in terms of social media, you probably don't, like, that's not going to match with the goal of getting people to click through to your website. Twitter has the lowest click through rate to a website of any social network, yet they are mostly used for breaking news, for timely and relevant events, and really the here and the now. And I'm recording this video. It's about 9 o'clock at night. Right now is a peak Twitter time. However, it's not a peak Twitter time for businesses. Like now would not be the time to go put out a press release about a new product launch. But if you were in the, say, sports world or you're in the entertainment world, now is your time and Twitter is your channel. Now, really quickly on the target audience, I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but just be sure that your company, your business, your brand is wherever your audience lives on social media. People have an average of 8.5 social media accounts. So um, chances are whatever you choose, your audience will be on. And you could make the argument that, hey, my audience is everywhere. Well, at some point, you're going to need to narrow that down because you simply don't have the time, and your company likely doesn't have the bandwidth to spend that type of time on a lot of channels that likely are not going to convert for you at a high rate. Because to be honest, the more specific you can get with your target audience, the easier it's going to be to choose. Um, if your audience is just millennials, you're in for a world of hurt because millennials are everywhere. We've seen previously, and you'll see in the next video, that millennials are pretty well established in every social network. And I myself am a millennial. I have all the social media accounts, and for me, if you're targeting me, I couldn't really tell you which social network to use first and foremost because I use a lot of them equally. Instead, you need to get narrower. You get narrower. Think about demographics, other demographics, more specific data. Are these people with families? Are these people that are single? Are these people that have a high income, low income? Is it a certain geographical area? Think about all those different elements that you can better narrow where you're going to be. And this right here is a good example of kind of showing that. You think about what are these? How can I measure this? Well, this is a good place to start. This is from almost 2 years ago. So it is a little outdated, but if you can go find the new data and figure out where should I be? Am I targeting men? Am I targeting women? What is the age group? What is the income level? What is the ethnicity? And then there's a political affiliation there at the end too. The other thing to think about is like, what are they doing there? Why are they there? A lot of people on Twitter, most people on Twitter don't tweet. They just consume. Same thing with TikTok. On the flip side, a lot of people on LinkedIn, they're there to learn. They're there to network. They're not there to be sold something. And if you're anything like me and you use LinkedIn, you're probably pretty tired of getting all the messages about people trying to sell you stuff. Oftentimes, they're trying to sell me the same thing that I do. They're selling digital marketing and content marketing services. And I'm thinking, man, this is poor planning on your part, the salesperson. So we have our content marketing goals now. The goal is to move people from one stage of the ADA funnel to the next. The slides are uploaded to the course site. Don't actually use this as a slide, but I did want to include it here for discussion. So the idea is that social media should not exist to just bring people from up here, first, intro to the brand, all the way down to purchase. While social media can be a revenue driving activity, to try and say that I'm going to use social media to move everybody through all four stages in one fell swoop, that's a lofty goal, and it's probably going to end poorly. Rather, you need to think in increments. Do I want to get people just into the brand, get them that first interaction? Do I want to move people into just getting a general interest? Do I want people to actively want what I have to offer? And finally, do I want to take people that actually want my product and get them to make that last purchasing step? Let's go through each one. First off, when you're moving people into the attention or the awareness stage, you're making a first impression. And this is hard through um, organic social. If there's one place where paid social media is going to be the most useful, it is this one. But this is content marketing. We're talking about owned media here. So think about how you can position your brand in such a way that will make your followers, one, share it, and then two, get your content on those discover pages or the for your page, if you will, on TikTok. So you don't want to do a lot of brand promotion, and you really want to stick to positive feelings and emotion. And this is an example of a LinkedIn post actually from MailChimp. I think it was right before they got acquired by Intuit. And you would never know it if you didn't see the brand at the top that this was a MailChimp post. It's about an individual person, very personal, leaving the film industry and learning about bike manufacturing. Now, obviously, MailChimp is going to be included in that article about one of the tools to use to get his company off the ground. But you would never know it by reading this post, and it could get you interested and it could reach a whole new audience rather than just people who use email marketing. Secondly, we have the attention or the awareness stage into the interest stage. This is where data really comes in, original research, and Hootsuite as well as Sprout they do a really good job. Those are the social media aggregator sites where you can connect all of your social networks in one platform and schedule posts into the future. When I look at this, I see this kind of tweet from Hootsuite. This is the kind of stuff that really does a good job of getting people not only interested in the brand, but it gets them to start trusting the brand in the content that they're sharing. Now, Hootsuite, they release data like this on a monthly basis now. Back in pre-pandemic, they would do it just once or twice a year. But now, and you'll see here in 2021, it was the July update. So every month they would do an update of all sorts of stats on key digital channels. And it was really interesting seeing how they could kind of manipulate the market and show people, hey, this is what's going on in social media. Check it out. No obligation. You can download the PDF for free. Sometimes you have to put in your information, sometimes you don't. But it was a great way to get the name out there so that when it did come time for you to buy that social media aggregator for $30 a month, Hootsuite was where you went. Now, if we look to the interest to desire stage, that is now, hey, we have their attention. Now they are an interest. They know our brand. They trust our brand. Now we need them to want what we have. This is where you're getting people that are really interested in the product or services. And this is really actually easier for B2C instead of B2B. The first one or two, I would say that I just showed were more B2B, but now is a B2C example. Again, you're not looking to sell something immediately. You're not doing the buy now, but rather I'm going to show you here an example as on Facebook. This is a brewery that's actually near my home in Metro Detroit, and they don't sell beer online. I don't think you can sell beer online in this area. But what they do is at any time that they have a limited beer release, they'll put a photo like this. And this is actually a video, but it's just somebody holding the can. They'll promote it. Well, not promote it, but they'll post it organically on their social media channels, and they will immediately get a rush of people to the brewery to buy this stuff. And it's interesting because they don't have to send out an email. They don't need to do a ton of word of mouth. All they have to do is announce, hey, we have a new limited release beer. And hey, it's here. It's available. You can come buy it. So they're not, if it was in the action stage, there would be a way to buy it from here. An action would mean, hey, this isn't this on this interaction with the brand, you're making a purchase. This is actually getting people into the desire stage where, yes, I now want that product. I now need to go take action. I need to go make another step, which in this case is to go physically to the brewery and to buy the product. So, really good example here. This is really common with not only breweries, but anything with food, pretty much, that where you're not buying something online. This is very common and very successful, a lot, I would say. Now, finally, we have the desire to action. Now, action would mean that you can buy the product or the whatever online. So, if you are a strictly offline business, you're not going to be able to do this step. And in this example specifically, I have chosen an Instagram account that allows you to buy directly from Instagram without even leaving the app. See this little view products button here. Stores can now sell their stuff within Instagram, which is huge for Instagram because it keeps people on their site to buy products. And it's good for companies because then once you see the line of products, in this case, it's dog clothing, there's a good chance that they're going to get you. They're going to get you to buy, make the sale. A lot of times there's discounts. Sometimes it's promotion. Sometimes it's scarcity. Like, hey, this is only here for a limited time. But also, the other thing that I would say is now that you can oftentimes buy within the social media app, so you can buy on Instagram, you can buy on Facebook, and you can soon buy on TikTok as well. Actually, you can buy stuff on TikTok. Sometimes the salesy part is gone. And in this case, like here, like they're not telling you to go buy now. All they got to do is show view products and they'll get you. So if anything, it's less salesy and it's more traditional content marketing where they don't even have to say anything. They just have to say, hey, we got our spring wardrobe update for pets. Hashtag Zara Pets. Zara knew it. Here's a dog with a little outfit. And they probably sold thousands of these instantly. The 131,000 likes is a good example to show that. So really good content marketing action here. Now, I did want to include this next step. From action to loyalty. This is when you take somebody who has already purchased, this is a returning customer, and get them to come back again. That would be running back through the ADA funnel and increasing that customer lifetime value. So you would only see this in instances where people can come back and become a customer again. And usually it is a B2C situation. It could be a B2B situation under the right circumstances, but generally you see this most commonly with things like fast food. And the way that I like to tell people, and this is a Facebook post from Subway, is that fast food is big on the loyalty thing because they are all in a market where they don't need you to buy immediately. Sure, sometimes they'll spend some posts like saying, hey, download the app and buy this. Like Taco Bell and Wendy's do that a lot. They just want to be the most recent brand to connect with you so that next time where you are out and you realize you need to stop and get something to eat, that when you drive by their nearest location, you're going to stop in and get something. And this is partially brand awareness, partially psychology, partially just the nature of the industry. But for me, it's fascinating because Subway just has to throw this goofy ingredients post here. And it got 100,000 comments, 100 shares, 951 engagements. Like this is huge. It's really successful. And it was just, hey, what vegetables do you need? And yet, yeah, like their sandwiches do not look this good. And a lot of the comments on this post were not flattering. But at the same time, like it's Subway is now in the front of their minds, and they've got them. If they drive by a Subway and they're hungry next time, and they like Subway as a fast food location, Subway Eat Fresh, there's a good chance that this post contributes to their internal monologue and decision-making process when it comes to choosing a place to eat. Now, Subway, if there was a Subway person here in their marketing team, they would say, hey, fast food is not actually our niche. We're not competing against the McDonald's and the Burger Kings out there. We're competing against Jimmy John's. We're competing against Quiznos, if that's even a thing anymore. They are in a different situation where generally the appetite for fast food, the burger and the nuggets, the fries, is going to be different than when you want a sandwich, one that is freshly made in front of you as you are standing there. So, which is interesting to me because there's a lot of Jimmy Johns around me, a lot of Subways. Those seem to be the two big ones that are at odds in battling, and I enjoy both. And for me, it is more about, hey, what have I encountered? What's more recently in my mind that I am going to get a hankering for? And so that's the loyalty stage here. I did want to mention this last point. It does help promote user generated content because um, they're looking for the engagements. They're looking for, well, really, they want more impressions on their posts. And the best way to do that is to get comments, shares, things like that. Obviously, we want those engagements with social media, but at the same time, when they are doing a Facebook report, they're going to go in and say, how many people saw this post? They don't care how many people went to a website. There is no way to get to the website here. It's just a picture. You'll see like they don't want to click. They're not looking at click-through rate. Their goal is just impressions. Now I'm not going to go through the goal statement stuff here. But I will say this is the last side I'm going to talk about today, and that is the platform analysis and selection. And this is where I'm going to cut this off because in the next video, we'll go through all of the social networks and how to review them. What are the numbers that are associated with them, and what's the thought process behind it. But really, just remember that you have your goals. So far, we've talked about what are the business goals that are associated with social media, and then also what's the AIDA funnel process here? Where are you trying to push them? And I think I did a good job of showing 4 different social networks at each stage. I showed the LinkedIn, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And now, the process moving forward is now which one of those are you going to pick? You need to take the data that's available, your understanding of the social networks, how people consume data there. And then what's going to align best with what you want to do. So we will cover that in the next video. And for any questions, of course, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, or send me an email. And I'd love to talk more about this. If there's if there's 2 chapters, I should say, that are kind of my specialty here, it would be 9 and 10, as well as 8, of course. And I am happy to always chat more about this process. Thank you.